Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, on this smashing Sunday for another daily cryptocurrency market update. If you're new around here, we drop one of these around about 1 p.m. UK time every single day to help you guys stay up to date with, of course, the cryptocurrency space, but also the broader markets. And what we're going to be doing to kick this daily market update off is actually look at a couple of tweets from Trump. One has came out over the past couple of hours in regards to the meetings that took place with China in Switzerland and how a total reset is being negotiated. And why are we looking at this? Well, America and everything that's happened with the stock market has essentially or can be related to what Trump is trying to do in the first few months or set out in the first few months of his presidency. And actually the markets are priced in due to the uncertainty and in some cases rightfully so, quite a negative picture. And we've said actually it's not going to be as literal as Liberation Day's outlook, and there's going to be a kind of middle ground. If not, what you may end up with is actually lower tariffs across the board periodically. So I want to look at this in the context of that, because that means that if your markets are priced in that negative scenario, and that's why we've seen the kind of pullbacks that we've seen, anything better than that or a complete 180 of that actually sees the markets retrace and continue higher. And of course, the cryptocurrency space is correlated to the traditional markets. It's quite logical. I guess that's the positive outlook. The other hand would, of course, be escalation would see further pricing into the downside, which I'm not on the side of. I think the other or the opposite is true. And I think since all of this has happened, we've had confirmation in regards to the bias that I've held. So we are going to start the video off there. We'll relate that to the stock market. Then we're going to take a quick look at the week that we've got ahead for you, do a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin dominance, and show you something interesting in regards to MicroStrategy that was the fourth, or is the fourth most traded stock. Let's kick things off with this tweet from, or Truth Social post from Donald Trump. A very good meeting today with China in Switzerland. Many things discussed, much agreed to. A total reset negotiated in a friendly but constructive manner. We want to see, for the good of both China and the US, an opening up of China to American business, great progress being made. Now, the markets on this pullback priced in, or have tried to price in, the literal implementation and potential escalation of the tariffs that were laid out. You know, the markets have tried to process this, and they've gone with the bearish scenario on all of this, which is really the literal implementation. And what you had on the 90-day pause was a retracement that could still be a dead cat bounce, but I think actually is more than that, given the fact that you've retraced 65%, you're likely going to retrace the rest. And I think that comes on the opposite of what the markets are pricing in, which is a negotiation and a path forward, potentially a positive one, with tariffs. I've consistently said that, you know, this is the art of the deal. Guys really using this as a bargaining chip. And when we were talking about even 125% tariffs on China, that just simply doesn't make sense for anybody. So with this retracement, you know, why is all this relevant to us as a cryptocurrency investor? Because, of course, we are correlated. I'll just stick this on log so that they're similar. And that correlation is going to continue. And actually, the interesting thing, and BlackRock was so right on this in their paper, is Bitcoin actually is a great asset to buy in downturns based on geopolitical events, because historically, it will outperform 10, 30, 40, 50, 60 days later from the geopolitical event taking place. And that's ringing true today. So this is all really important to watch. We are seeing more progression towards the bias that I have, and I think that's going to continue. Also, this was over the past 24 hours. After a long night of talks mediated by the United States, I am pleased to announce that India and Pakistan have agreed to a full and immediate ceasefire. Congratulations to both countries on using common sense and greater intelligence. Thank you for your attentions to this matter. And I'm going to say something here that may be a bold prediction, may not, but I actually think that with Trump, I'm coming off like a bit of a fanboy here, and I'm not a fan of everything that Trump does, but with Trump in charge, I think one big catalyst that's going to see markets do well And I'm looking at some Russian indexes right now, and I actually think they're going to do rather well. And this gives me a little bit of confidence to say that I think you're going to see an end to the Ukraine-Russia war in the not too distant future. And that could be a great catalyst for markets, and of course crypto will benefit from that, just like broadly everything will. And I won't go too much into detail with that, but when I think if you look at certain Russian indexes, they've recovered a lot, and actually some of them are setting up structures that could see them perform very, very well. And you've got to the easy part with technical analysis is sort of having an edge on what price is going to do. The hard part is trying to figure out why. And the reasonable explanation to why a Russian index would do well is that there's an end to the Ukraine war. And I think that's going to happen. I think that's a positive catalyst still to come for the markets. Just speculating. I'm not a geopolitical guy. Maybe this is outside my realms of, I'm a technical guy, and I'm saying based technically on how some Russian indexes look, I think you could see a cease to everything's going on there. And Trump's pretty good at ending these. He's good at starting them in other places or pursuing them in other places, but I'm good at ending them in others. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about with that. So I think you're going to see a recovery here. And I think this of course has context to the cryptocurrency space, which is doing exactly what we've set out for it and has been doing since we got back into the markets at the start of 2023. Literally down here, it's just been a technical butte, and actually we're seeing that falling wedge play out, and we're starting to see altcoins come to life. And this is going to continue, and I think you've got this really broad, bright future ahead of us for the cryptocurrency space as an investor. And the week that we've got ahead of us is quite lackluster. Okay, you've got US CPIs. These are expected to come out slightly hotter, around about 2.6 from 2.4. I think that's probably on the money. And you've got things like UK GDP, which is actually still positive. We did have a negative quarter or weakening data in the US. And there's this war going on between Trump and Jerome Powell. But I think another positive catalyst would be, of course, interest rates coming down to where we believe they're going to. Something interesting I want to show you guys. We looked at MicroStrategy being the fourth most traded stock outside on top of many of the Mag 7s. This is the total supply excluding MicroStrategy's holdings of Bitcoin. And you can see the effects, the deflationary effects that this is having. So Strategy is buying Bitcoin faster than it's mined. Their 555,000 BTC is illiquid, with no plans to sell. MicroStrategy holdings alone mean a 2.23 annual deflation rate, likely higher with other stable institutional holders. And this is only going to grow and continue. And I think the story for Bitcoin is going to be, and it has been and is going to continue to be a successful one. And technically, you guys know that we're looking at about 306. And that's based on this cup and handle. We've had great success with these. The DAX was one of the most recent. You can see the DAX's cup and handle. Look at the recovery we've seen in the EU markets. I think markets have got a great time ahead of them. And I think crypto fits into that as likely the best performer. The falling wedge that we were looking at for Bitcoin is playing out, not quite played out yet. You've not entirely engulfed this, but that's what this pattern is signaling. And we're seeing that really across the board with all the falling wedges that we highlighted. Certainly, MicroStrategy was one that we looked at, and it's playing out beautifully. I own stocks relating to the cryptocurrency space. Predominantly miners. I have Coinbase, that's my second largest position, but I also have a miner in the top position that I think is going to give some really good ROIs. And I think that all comes on the back end of this kind of Bitcoin narrative. I'm seeing lots of people post charts on Bitcoin dominance that have literally zoomed in like this and said, yeah, old season is here. But in the context of things, I'm cautious to call tops on Bitcoin dominance right now. However, I do think it does top eventually, of course, which is logical, and I think it could set us up some sort of structure that ultimately sees Bitcoin eventually come down to the sort of 20s in terms of dominance, certainly when you equate for stable coins and what's being enacted right now. This was a huge week. I'm going to look at it with the Patreons later for the industry. I mean, if you look at all the events that have taken place this week alone, whether it's Stripe, whether it's what PayPal have just done, whether it's what the OCC came out and said. Yes, the Genius Act was sort of voted against, but I think that's a hurdle that will be overcame. And I think this industry is getting ready to be used and utilized, and it has been, the foundations for that have been worked on for a hell of a long time, not publicly. We're going to see a lot of that come to fruition and come into the public eye. And I think you're honestly looking at such an amazing time for the markets. Certainly the cryptocurrency space, which is going to be a higher beta of all that and going to perform some insane multiples. We're seeing a little bit of a kind of buoyancy now. I think people in the next year and a half are going to look back at the year and a half that's just passed them and gone, wow, you know, I've made so much money. It's unbelievable. I truly believe that's what's facing the cryptocurrency space. And I think I'm seeing some positive things on the kind of geopolitical macro that align with that. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Bit of a shorter, sweeter one. It is a Sunday. Not that much news circulating, but we've covered the best of it. I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.